Hello, wherever you are in the world. We are so glad that you joined us. I'm Christine Barnhart, normally your host for Supply Chain Unfiltered. We'll get to that in a minute. This is where we provide a candid look at the challenges that supply chain professionals face and bring in forward thinkers and innovators to share their insights on the strategies, technologies, and collaborative efforts shaping the future of supply chain. So please take a minute before we get started and let me know where you're located today by posting in the chat. So, I am once again at home. I think this is 3 episodes in a row here in Evansville or Heavensville, Indiana. This is actually the first time that I've been in my office since the 4th of September because I've been traveling all over the country. Yikes. So let me know where you're from. I think we're going to have a really great show today, but we're going to try something just a tad bit different. So our guest had a last minute conflict, silly supply chain, kind of surprised that we haven't had this issue before. So we're making a last minute pivot. And I'm actually going to be joined by my associate, Daisy Jiang, and we're going to launch a new segment. And I cannot take credit for the name. Daisy came up with this, like, because she's super creative. We're going to call this "Catching Up with Christine." So we're not really sure where things are going to go, but you know what? We might even take some audience questions. So let me know where you're from in the chat. And if, as the discussion kind of moves along, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to post them. So, Daisy, welcome. Why don't you
Thank
tell
you.
everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Daisy Jiang. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at Nulogy. Been with Nulogy for quite a few years and actually work pretty closely with Christine in my day-to-day. This is a little bit of an unexpected format and a little bit unscripted for sure. But Christine, you're great speaking off the cuff. So I have no concerns about the quality of today's conversation. And I mean, I'll just jump right into it, Christine. I think it's been a while since you and I have connected directly. You've been on the road for so long. So I actually do have a bunch of questions for you to catch up. So why not catch up in front of the whole wide world
I
here?
mean, whatever we have to do. So it's nice to see you, Daisy. You are coming to us live from Toronto,
From
correct?
Toronto. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And before we get started, I just want to welcome, I see Rob has joined us. Rob is, we're far enough into this now. I'm going to say a longtime listener. It's good to see you this morning, Rob. And Sarah, as always, we appreciate your support. I have to give her, like, she challenged me this morning. I was like, Sarah, my guest canceled. And she was like, do it yourself. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I guess I will. So good to see you this morning, Sarah. So, okay, Daisy, lay it on me. I'm ready. Let's go.
Look, Christine, I'm sure you would have done a great job even on your own, but I think it's always nicer to have someone to talk to instead of talking to yourself.
It
So,
is.
so here I am. But yeah, a bunch of things I wanted to cover. But I'm gonna kick off with shining a bit of a light on our newly minted partnership with Kinaxis, which is something I'm excited about. Our entire team is excited about. We are thrilled to welcome Kinaxis into our ecosystem of partners. Following our announcement, I think it was about a week ago now, we also took the stage with Kinaxis and Colgate to talk a little bit about our work together. So right off the bat, really excited to get that one out. But I wanted to take a bit of a step back first. Christine, can you tell us a little bit more about, why Nulogy pursued this partnership, how it complements and enables our mission and our vision for the industry?
Yeah, I mean, so people that know me very well know that I'm really, really passionate about planning. That's kind of where I really launched, I would say, the supply chains, kind of part of my career. Yes, I've done, procurement, direct and indirect, and big transformations and whatnot. But I really discovered supply chain through the context of planning when I was at Mead Johnson Nutrition. And so it's an area that I think is often undervalued maybe within a company. Your planning is almost as tricky as marketing, right? Like in marketing, it doesn't matter how great of a job you do, it's never good enough. And I would say planning is similar, right? It doesn't matter how great of a planner you are, the plan is always wrong. So planning is definitely, I think, something for me that I'm really passionate about. When I came into Nulogy 2 years ago, I was super excited. We already had a strategic partner in the planning space, which was OMP, which we love and we work really well with OMP. But one of the things I started to see as we were working with these really large brands is we, as kind of the niche player in the market, we don't get to decide who Colgate and L'Oreal and Church and Dwight, we don't get to decide who they're utilizing from a planning standpoint. And that in order to really be more valuable to these companies, we need to play well with multiple partners. And it just didn't make sense for us to move forward and not have a partnership with Kinaxis because we were already working with them in the context of Colgate. And they're such a leader. They, are often the number one leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. They've done such great work and continue to do great work in really, kind of pushing the limits of planning, redefining what it means to plan, moving away from, linear planning into concurrent planning. So it just made sense to me. So about a year ago, I started working with my peers at Kinaxis that were in, marketing, product marketing, industry thought leadership. And we started to talk about, well, what would a partnership look like? How do we complement each other? We are a purpose-built solution for external manufacturing and contract manufacturing, which clearly is outside of a company's four walls, where Kinaxis is really, the company that's taking that leadership role in terms of how you plan and how you orchestrate within the four walls, right? So together, we really start to unlock that kind of end-to-end value. I kind of call it virtual vertical integration. So we're actually bringing not just the data, but this ability to interoperate with your trading partners, with your contract manufacturers, with your co-packers, and bringing them into the context of what's available within Kinaxis, within Maestro, so that you can, you can see the capacity, not just within your own four walls, within your own manufacturing sites, but you can see the capacity that is available to you within your partners, and you can collaborate on that. You can see what inventory is there. You can see, what their production plans are, all actually within, the same user interface, if you choose, that you're utilizing, internally. So you don't have that swivel chair. We're ushering that data into the system of record. And it's so exciting. And we had such a great time last week talking about this with Colgate and Kinaxis at ASCM. So I'm super excited.
That's awesome. That's a great breakdown, I think, of the value of this partnership. And we were so excited to see that talk happen at ASCM Connect. I think one of many, hopefully, kind of joint go-to-market motions where we have more opportunities to talk more about the value of the partnership to our customers. But on that note, I wanted to touch up a little bit on ASCM Connect. That's one of the many events and industry engagements that you just came back from, right? So outside of that talk that Nulogy and Kinaxis and Colgate did together, talk to us about what else was happening at the show. What were some of the highlights of the event this year for folks that couldn't make it?
Yeah, really exciting event. I think there were like 1,200 or so participants in Austin. We were right downtown, which was great. So obviously the Colgate Kinaxis Nulogy talk was a highlight for me. I got to be the interviewer, so that was really, really fun to not just talk to the panelists, but actually engage with the audience. And I'm really, really hopeful we can do something like that again in the future in a virtual context, so that we can, pull in all of the supply chain unfiltered audience and really engage them. I think beyond that, there were maybe three things that stuck out to me. One was the innovation hub, which was kind of the show floor reimagined from the ASCM context. So yes, there were, areas where you could connect with, consultants and solution providers and universities and, whatnot. So like a traditional kind of expo, but in the middle was this three-sided stage with the headphones, and just some really, really great content was delivered. It was really innovative, and I enjoyed it. The second thing that was a highlight for me was the one Monday night, like kind of kickoff social activity, which was at Stubbs Barbecue, and Nulogy sponsored a segment around line dancing. So because we're in Austin, Texas, right? So there was a whole Nulogy line dance. Everybody was super engaged. It was just super fun, and kind of met the theme, if you will, of Nulogy, right? Because we're all about synchronizing and orchestrating the external supply chain. And if you're going to line dance together, you need things to be synchronized. And the band did a great job of orchestrating us. So that was kind of highlight number two. Highlight number three for me was personal, I think. I got to meet and like shake hands with Ariana Huffington post her keynote on the first day. And I have followed her for a while. She's an amazing speaker, trailblazer, like, I mean, a woman, that is really, making changes in the news industry, but also in kind of just like health and utilizing. It was so interesting to me how her company Thrive is utilizing AI. And so she really talked about how like personal health and this ability to thrive is the success metric that we don't really think about, right?
Mm.
And she shared a lot of her personal history. It really spoke to me about, when her children were little and she was a bit of a workaholic, and she measured her success very differently from the way she measures it today. And for me, I think that's something that I could really understand. My boys are in their 20s now, and while I did make a real effort to make sure that I was present, I'm not sure that I always thought I was as successful as I should be in that arena, and that I was one of those people. I was trying to have it all, and now I think I understand that it's not about having it all. It's really about balancing and taking time for myself, which by the way was part of the reason I was off for like a week and a half. Is I did like 3 work trips, and then I was like, I'm taking 4 or 5 days, and I met my girlfriends at the beach and really took some time to decompress, and tried to stay off of Slack and tried to stay off of emails and those kind of things. But yeah, overall it was a really amazing event.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, thanks for sharing some of the kind of the key takeaways, both, I guess, in a general, from a general standpoint and also on a personal standpoint. I agree with you that balance is so important, or else we all risk burning out, right, at some point. Now, Christine, I don't know if you noticed, but you refer to Ariana as a trailblazer, and you, in your own right, are a bit of a trailblazer as well. And in fact, I would be remiss if I did not call out the fact that you were recently recognized as a woman in supply chain in the trailblazer category specifically. And I'll also take this opportunity to highlight another award, which is one that our CEO Jason Tham was recently recognized as a DEI champion by the ASCM, and he was at the awards ceremony at ASCM Connect as well. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about both awards, both recognitions. Wanted to ask you personally, what does your recognition as an industry trailblazer mean to you? And then as an add-on question, what does it mean to you to be working at a company and with an executive team and a CEO that also champions diversity? I know that that's something that's kind of near and dear to you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna sum this up like kind of similar to what I did in my LinkedIn post, which is I feel really fortunate and grateful to be at Nulogy. Now look, I fully recognize, and I know my team and everybody that I work with now and in the past would say, Christine pushes, and I do, and I'm not always the easiest person to work with or to work for. And hopefully I think I hold myself to the same high standard that I hold others, but I'm a pusher. I'm not complacent. And I have really high expectations. And I would say, like, for me, Nulogy is the first place that I've worked in a while where I feel like I can be my authentic self. I can ask questions. I can advocate. I can have an opinion, and it's fully received. And I think that is really special. And when I look around Nulogy as a whole, Jason, who received the DEI award as our CEO and co-founder, but also Kevin Wong, who is also a co-founder. They're both really, really good at kind of embracing, I would say, maybe folks that are often underrepresented within our industry, being both supply chain and technology. They both just have a really different mindset, and I think some of that is because their families immigrated to North America. So they just have a little bit different way of thinking about business. They also both have really strong women in their lives in particular. So I think that helps them. They understand us maybe more than some of our other male peers.
Sure.
But and then I also think one of the great things about Nulogy, and I've seen Jason, is that, like, if I think like something's a little off, like, hey, like maybe we shouldn't make somebody travel when they're pregnant. And he'll be like, oh, I didn't even think about it. And legitimately, he didn't think about it. And he's receptive to that feedback. And I honestly don't know, like, even myself, I have a hard time sometimes hearing certain things. But he actually really embraces that, and I appreciate it. So I think for him, it was the right award. I was super excited. I was so proud of him, like, to be on the floor and like know that was my CEO and founder. In the context of my own, like, I don't know, I feel it like I'm proud. But then, like the whole imposter syndrome thing kind of comes into play. And I look around me at all the amazing women that have influenced my career, that are my friends, the women that work for me, because I have several of you. And I'm like, well, like, I mean, it's great. And I'm proud of the recognition, but I can probably do more. Like, it just never really feels like it's enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I can say from my standpoint, Christine, having as someone who has worked for you, I think your award is, well earned, as is Jason Tham's award. as someone who works at Nulogy, not a day goes by that I kind of take that for granted in the workplace environment that Jay and others in executive positions like yourself kind of establish and set up for us at Nulogy. And actually, on a personal note, I'm also excited to be attending Women in Supply Chain Forum in November, where we'll have, I think, a short 30 minutes, but a bit of a fireside chat to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. So everything you're kind of discussing here, Christina, I'm living in terms of my day-to-day experience. Now I wanna
We
switch
only have
gears.
like 10 minutes left, and I'm kind of surprised we do not have a single question in the chat, Daisy. Can you believe it?
Yeah,
Crazy to
that
me.
is odd. So I'll do a
It
call out now
is.
for everyone who's listening in. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Put your questions in. We'll save a few minutes at the end of the episode to see if there are any that we can address. Don't be shy, folks.
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay, so we don't have any questions from the audience. Like, what additional questions do you have for me?
Yeah. Actually, so another one that I'm really keen to address, Christine. You have a bit of a reputation in the industry. I think uh, you're a person that a lot of folks in supply chain kind of look to as a source of truth. You say it as it is. You're someone who can kind of bring clarity to things that can appear a bit complex. So I thought maybe we can spend a little bit of time to unpack some definitions and terms that could be a little bit overused and maybe a bit cliche at times in the industry. And I say this really not on any sort of high horse, because these are terms that we use to describe Nulogy day in and day out. But really, what do they mean, right? So terms like supply chain collaboration, supply chain visibility, purpose-built solutions, right? What are we talking about when we say and hear these terms used in the industry?
Okay, yeah. You're correct. We do utilize these terms. I think the reason that they kind of drive me nuts, however, is everybody's utilizing the same terms, and nobody does a very good job of defining them. And by the way, like, I was a practitioner for 20, 25 years. Looking back, I'm not sure I asked enough questions of my technology partners and my consulting partners when they would throw out these kind of, 3-letter acronyms and like monosyllable adjectives, right? So I really, like, for me, like, one of my personal goals over the next 3 or 4 months is for myself personally and for Nulogy, so gauntlet down to my team, for us to do a better job here. So I think, supply chain visibility, let's start there, because I think visibility is really fundamental to a lot of the things that are required in order to better run your supply chain. If you don't know what's happening, how do you take action? I mean, that's fundamentally what visibility is about, right? If you can't see it, you can't act on it. I think my problem with visibility is there's a ton of people out there that they'll say, oh, we provide supply chain visibility, we provide end-to-end visibility. And really, they don't. And I think as a practitioner, you have to start asking questions into visibility to what? Right? It's like, I think about like the Six Sigma black belt mindset, where like you just keep asking questions. And so I think when people say visibility, it's like, visibility to what? In the context of Nulogy, we're providing visibility into those suppliers that are outside of your four walls. And yes, we can do raw materials and ingredients and components and whatnot, but primarily we think the bigger value is in contract manufacturing and your co-packers, because they're the ones that are the closest suppliers to your customer. They're the ones that are shipping things directly into retail. They're shipping things, directly into your customers' homes. So we're providing visibility into what they're doing for you. What is the inventory? How much capacity do they have? What does production look like? What materials are going to expire? So visibility into there. Other companies are providing visibility into other areas, but I strongly encourage you to ask the question. In terms of collaboration, I mean, technically speaking, if you can export like a template from a solution and then email it to a supplier, have them fill it out, and then upload it back in, I mean, technically that's collaboration. And so a lot of companies will say we support, end-to-end collaboration, or we support multi-enterprise collaboration. And I guess technically to some extent they do, but from my standpoint, unless those solutions are actually integrated such that, I say I'm building this on this date and you don't rekey it in and it automatically flows into your system, I wouldn't call that robust, right?
Mm.
So for me, I think it's asking the question, is it high fidelity? Meaning it's of high quality data. It's not being rekeyed in multiple times. It's the same data in both systems within a few, seconds, minutes, depending upon how often you're updating data. And it's really, really robust, right? I don't think you can call it like true technical, technically supported collaboration. And then what was the third term you gave me?
Purpose-built solution.
Purpose built. Yes, I love this one. So purpose built, like, Christine, like you do collaboration and there's like, between suppliers and manufacturers, and there's, half a dozen other tools that do the same thing. Here's what I would tell you. How you were developed matters. The kind of expertise and skill set and experience within that technology provider, it matters, right? You know what? I've done all different kinds of procurement and all different kinds of planning. And planning a commodity raw material and procuring a commodity raw material is very, very different from planning and procuring a finished product that has to like look, act, function, and be a part of my finished goods at shelf. And so, Nulogy is purpose built. We developed actually from the production floors initially of contract manufacturers and co-packers. So we understand that industry. We bring in best practices. We bring in the data models for that industry. And that allows us to deliver not just integration, basic integration, but interoperability, because we ensure that you have the right kind of data to manage those kind of suppliers and the right type of collaboration and orchestration. So for me, purpose built really means that you understand and that you've developed out of those industries. And you know what? I'm sure there's nuance, and as we talk about it more internally, maybe we'll publish some definitions and whatnot. Okay, so we have only a couple of minutes left. And I see actually now we have a bunch of questions. The term I'm recently hearing, okay, I like this one, supply chain orchestration. So orchestration is actually, I'm going to say it's at a higher level. You must be integrated and you must collaborate, but orchestration actually moves this up to a bit of a higher level. I've been challenging Gartner myself to better define the term. So stay tuned because I think there's going to be a bunch more research coming out. But it has to include the interoperability. It has to include kind of, being purpose built, if you will, for the part of the supply chain that I'm trying to orchestrate. I see a bunch more like AI. We could have a totally like a follow-up with catching up with Christine on asking more and more questions. So I love it. And next time we'll like beat on people to do this sooner. So, however, we have 1 minute left, and so I want to thank Daisy for last minute stepping in. You were a wonderful co-host this morning. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way would be to find me on LinkedIn, Daisy Jiang, last name Jiang. If you want to connect digital, I will also be at Women in Supply Chain Forum in November in Atlanta if you want to see me in real life. Thanks for having me,
So
Christine.
yeah, LinkedIn is going to be best for me. My next big show is actually Pack Expo and F4SS in Chicago. In particular, you can find me at a reception that we're co-hosting with the Foundation for Supply Chain Solutions on Monday, November the 4th on the show floor. Pack Expo is free, people. So if you're in the Chicago area, I expect to see you. I would also be remiss if I did not give a shout out to our show producer, Let's Talk Supply Chain, and encourage you to take a look at the wonderful work that they are doing to build up supply chain communities. Sarah and her team there have built this just incredible group of like-minded professionals. There's the supply chainers, there's the Women in Supply Chain group, there's the creative room. Do yourself a favor, head over to the Secret Society of Supply Chain.com to explore which community was made for you. I also need to thank our show sponsor and Daisy and I's employer, Nulogy, a truly an innovator in supply chain technology focused on decreasing the friction between suppliers and customers to everyone's benefit through collaboration and synchronization. On that note, we must say goodbye. I'm hopeful that you'll tune in next month. In October, I honestly cannot tell you who our guest is at this point, but stay tuned because I'm sure it will be wonderful. And I will see everybody at Pack Expo. Talk to you soon.